5 days, 5 meetings, one big problem. President Obama still insisting on tax hikes the GOP is rejecting. But the president saying, quote, "I will not yield on this." So he's sticking to his principles, even though he admits failure to raise the ceiling would be catastrophic. A big difference from President Bush. He didn't want the bank bailouts, but he felt he had no choice.
I had to make the decision to use your money
to bail them out.
To bail them out, yeah.
But
because the options for me were, do I gamble on a depression?
All right, historian Jane Hampton Cook says maybe President Obama is just too stubborn on this one. Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, I think he's certainly sticking to something that's not working in the long run in terms of these negotiations. So he's definitely sticking to his ideology, at least right now. We'll see if that changes. But, you know, sometimes presidents take in advice from advisors. They take the heartbeat, the pulse of the American people, and they will do as President George W. Bush did. They will make a different decision. He said that TARP flew against all of his instincts, but he believed that doing something was better than doing nothing and let the bottom completely fall out. So sometimes a president really needs to take it all in, listen, and then make a better choice that's in the interest of the American people ultimately.
What do you make of this? And this isn't, to my mind, just a flip-flop on what I'm hearing out of President Obama when he has said in the past that the United States needs tax cuts to help the economy. He has said that, he said it in 2009, he said in years after, he said, let me give you the quote. He said, the last thing you want to do is raise taxes in the middle of a recession, because that would just suck up and take demand out of the U.S. economy and put businesses further in a hole. And then when he passed, or rather kept the Bush tax cuts in place, he said, we need to do this to free up money to hire new workers. So to my mind, and you're the historian, you're an astute observer of this, is this a president who's being pushed and pulled and torn? That maybe he really does believe tax cuts would help the U.S. economy, but maybe he's being advised otherwise. What do you think?
You know, that's very possible. I think presidents sometimes struggle with priorities. They have these different ideologies, and sometimes they'll clash. It clashed for FDR. He wanted to balance the budget, but there was a recession in 1937, and instead he passed a $5 billion deficit spending package at the advice of the Fed chair. So his priorities were torn, and it could be that may be what is going on here. You have advisors advising him one way, someone else advising him in another, and that can happen.
You bring up such a good point, because President Ronald Reagan faced this in his first term. He was forced to take a spending measure on to help get the economy out of double-digit unemployment, double-digit inflation. And President Reagan, in the aftermath, said, you know what, that didn't work, because the money came into the system only 5 years after, in 1985, 1986. And by that time, employment was already coming back and it was already improving. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, that does happen on both sides of the aisle. But I think, you know, in Ronald Reagan's case, he rolled back the top tax rate that actually FDR had put in place years earlier. And that did help stimulate the economy. Okay. And sometimes there's some short-term measures that work, you know, for long-term. So.
Okay. I'm sorry to, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but we're getting word out of Senator McConnell's office that there will not be a meeting tomorrow. So that's something we're going to be continuing to watch this hour. Thank you so much, Jane Cook, the historian. Thank you so much for your time. Really good to see you.